Happy Friday, everybody. I am glad you could be here. Now, whether you are here during my live on this or whether you're joining me later on, one way or the other, we're going to have some fun today. So, let's get my cupboard door closed. That is one of my pet peeves, is cupboard doors being left open, and I'm the one that left that one open. So, I've got nothing for you. It's all my fault. If you do it, own it. If you own it, you can deal with it. Okay, so today we are making cream of mushroom soup. Now, just kind of as a little bit of an aside, if you're not real crazy about mushrooms, you can do the same thing with celery. So, something to keep in mind. Okay, now, this is my cream of mushroom soup recipe, and so we're going to have a little bit of fun making this today. Now let's make sure I have audio, I have video, I have ingredients, so we're good to go. Okay, let's take a look at what we're doing. Now, I have a pot on the stove. I'm going to turn this on and let it start heating. Now usually, there we go. Usually when we get together, I have a nice hot cup of coffee. Today, I have a glass of water with Mio juice flavoring in it. I call them juice squirts. You squirt it in the glass. There you go. Now, for those of you who don't know, I was at a farmer's market this morning with my TSL Organics line of spices, and I had a lot of fun at the market. So when I come from a market to come and hang out with you guys, two things are true. First of all, I'm a little bit frazzled, but secondly, you guys just calm me down, and I love the fact that we get to hang out. So if you're here, please let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're watching from and how you're watching. Are you watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch? Let me know where you are and what you're doing. Let's take that out of my ear. Okay, now, I have this pot heating, and the very first thing that we are going to do is we're going to put in 60 grams of unsalted butter. Whether it's salted or unsalted in this recipe, not a really big deal, but it does let you control how much salt and what kind of salt goes into your recipe. So for that reason, we are going to use unsalted butter. Now, I need something to stir with. Where is it? I think this is going to work just fine. Okay, now, if you want another layer of flavor, and we haven't even started building our flavor, but you can let the butter brown. And brown butter has a beautiful nutty flavor, and so you just leave it in the pot until it's just starting to turn brown. And you have to be quick with this because it will go from brown to black and bitter and yucky really fast. So we're going to watch that. Now, while we're doing that, we are going to take this little bowl that the butter was in. No sense in making more dishes than we have to. And we are going to add our salt. That's 2 teaspoons of salt. And our xanthan gum. We've got a teaspoon of xanthan gum. A tablespoon of thyme, ground thyme. And we'll stack these up. And a teaspoon of black pepper. Now there are all of our seasonings. Okay, we're just going to watch this, and you can see the color is starting to change already. Ugh, itchy, itchy. Okay, so this is just starting to brown just a wee bit. And so I'm going to add 15 milliliters of oil. Now the oil is going to do 2 things. It's going to take the smoke point up a little bit higher because now we're not dealing with straight butter. And it's going to add a little bit more oil for the 500 grams. Now let me just move this camera over here so that you guys can be right over where I am. Okay, here we go. This 500 grams of mushrooms, we're going to put right in here. And we're going to saute this until these mushrooms are nicely browned. Now, when you're chopping these mushrooms, you can do this however you like. Now, because I wanted you to see that this was fresh mushrooms that were just nicely sliced, I did them like this. So you do not have to do it like that. You can put them through your food processor and grind them. You can do whatever you like. Okay, now in our spice mixture, the next thing we are going to add is 1 tablespoon of onion powder. Now, with me being all about using fresh and not processed, and how do I justify it this time of year using onion powder? Well, I'm going to tell you. That tablespoon of onion powder is the equivalent of about 1.5 cups of fresh chopped onions. Okay? Now, this tablespoon of onion powder has 5.5 grams of net carbs. If I had used fresh onion, we would be talking to get the same amount, the same equal amount, we would be looking at 15 grams of carbs. Now, I am not even going to pretend to know, since it's dehydrated onion. I don't know where those extra carbs went, just that they did. Now, one of the reasons that we're mixing these all together is because we put xanthan gum in here. You remember we've got a teaspoon of xanthan gum in here, and xanthan gum is one of those things that is a little bit tricky to work with when you are dealing with anything wet or liquidy, because it will clump. And if you mix it in with something else, then the little particles of xanthan gum are not all stuck together the way they are if you just put in a straight teaspoon of xanthan gum. Now look at these mushrooms are already starting to cook down. Now, we are not just leaving this as mushroom soup. We are going to turn this into something that is absolutely delicious, and it is a family favorite of mine, of my whole family's. And it was a recipe that my grandmother handed down. So I am going to show you a new Northern Alberta way of making Swiss steak that has no tomatoes. And I have heard people say, well, without tomatoes, it isn't Swiss steak. And I am here to tell you, if my grandma taught me that it was Swiss steak, then it bloody well was Swiss steak. So you can call it whatever you like. But on Sunday, when we get together, we are going to be making my Grandma Hawkins Swiss steak keto style, and you don't want to miss it because it is absolutely delicious. And it's not a recipe that I share with a lot of people, but it is a recipe that I'm going to share with you. So now we are getting to the point where these mushrooms are getting nice and tender, and that's where we want them. They're going to have a chance to cook down a little bit more. I'm just going to give you a better shot of this pot. These are going to have a chance to cook down a little bit more once we get the rest of the ingredients in here. Now we're getting to the point, these are getting soft enough that we're going to add 3 cloves of minced garlic. Now the finer you mince this, the stronger the garlic flavor is going to be. So if you want a milder garlic flavor, you might want to slice it. If you like a really strong garlic flavor, you might want to get a garlic press. One way or the other, you get to be in control of the flavor, and when you put it in with the mushrooms, you don't want it to even brown, because garlic gets bitter very quickly. Okay, so we have these things in here. We're just going to wait until we start to smell that garlic and it gets nice and fragrant, and when that happens, we're going to start adding our other ingredients. So far we have 500 grams of sliced mushrooms, we have 60 grams of unsalted butter, and we have 15 milliliters of olive oil. Now you can use coconut oil or avocado oil or bacon fat. That would be really delicious, actually. I need to cook some more bacon because I need bacon fat. So it seems like it's time to make some bacon bits and save that bacon fat for doing wonderful things like this. Okay, now these mushrooms are nice and tender, and so we are going to start adding our other ingredients. So again, 500 grams of mushrooms, 60 grams of butter, 15 milliliters of your choice of healthy oil, not vegetable oil, a tablespoon of onion powder. So that's about, I think it's about 10 grams-ish, thereabouts. 3 cloves of garlic minced, and we have our thyme and xanthan gum and salt and black pepper and our onion powder in here. Okay, so we are going to sprinkle this in, and we're going to mix it in. So we're adding all of the seasonings first. There we go. Don't want to waste this because it adds so much flavor to our soup. Okay, now let's get this all mixed in. Now that xanthan gum is going to start soaking up those fats really quickly. So the next thing we are going to do is add 1 cup of water. And it is just this easy, guys. 500 mils or 2 cups of chicken stock or chicken bone broth. If you've got it, that's even better. And we're going to give this a bit of a stir. I got a little bit of seasoning stuck to the side of the pot, so I'm just scraping that down. Make sure we get all that yumminess right down in the liquids. And we're going to turn this. Now I had this on a medium heat because I don't want to burn the mushrooms or the garlic. I'm going to turn this up so that it's on full until we get it to a nice rolling boil. Now I'm adding 1.5 cups of whipping cream. There we go, 1.5 cups. And now the next part is the hard part, because now we have to let this cook down until it's reduced by about a third to a half. And as this cooks, as the flavors mingle and get to know each other, the flavors just keep intensifying and they get more and more lovely. So you need to kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't scorch on the bottom, because the last thing you want is scorched cream. Nothing good ever came from that. So we're just going to keep doing this. Now I want to talk to you about something that is, well, I'm going to spin it so it's going to be keto related. I heard a story yesterday from someone who was telling me about 2 friends going to a restaurant. Now, I live in Alberta, for those of you who don't know. So these 2 friends went to a restaurant, and in Alberta, for those of you who aren't aware, restaurants right now have a choice. They can either serve only people who have been vaccinated, or they can have a drastically reduced capacity and they can serve everybody. So I think if you are serving everybody, you're only allowed to have 25 or 30% of your normal seating capacity. So this is a decision that each business has to make for themselves, and everyone is asked to respect whatever decision that business makes. Now, in this particular situation, 2 ladies go to an outdoor restaurant, and they were told that they were only serving vaccinated people that have had both of their COVID-19 vaccines. So one of the ladies had had her vaccine, so she went in to order some food to go. The other one, who hadn't been vaccinated, very patiently waited for her friend outside. Now you would think that should be the end of the story, but it is not. Because what happened next was, some of the people sitting in the patio that had been admitted started pointing fingers and making fun of the unvaccinated. Now, the lady that wasn't vaccinated, she wasn't pointing fingers and making fun of the people who were in there, but they certainly were making fun of her. Now, I don't care one way or the other what your position is. What I do care about is how we treat each other. And so I hope that you will really hear me when I say to you, please be gentle with other people. Be as gentle with them as you would like them to be with you. And whatever your opinion is on any matter, understand that there are going to be people who disagree with you, and those people have hearts and feelings and families, and they need your understanding every bit as much as you need theirs. So, whether you are talking about vaccinated, unvaccinated, maskers, anti-maskers, keto people, or non-keto people, when you see someone who is struggling in whatever way, maybe their health is struggling because they don't know about the benefits of the ketogenic diet yet, maybe their health is struggling because of stress, maybe they have a family member that they are dealing with that has all kinds of problems. You don't know what's going on in somebody else's life, and because you don't know, you have to remember that they also don't know what's going on in your life. So treat people how you want to be treated. Be gentle with them, and lead by example. Lead by example. If you believe that people should be vaccinated, it's important that you get vaccinated, and if you're comfortable sharing that with people, then you should do that. If you believe that people shouldn't be vaccinated, then you're not going to get vaccinated, and you can share that with people and share your reasons why. But one way or the other, whatever your opinion is, are you doing keto and you've seen the health benefits, or you have a family member who you think should do keto and isn't? Lead by example. Because that old saying, you catch more flies with honey, it's very true. It is very, very true. Now, I'm going to turn this down because I don't want my cream to boil and start curdling. And we're just getting there now. This is going to simmer away, and it's probably going to take the better part of half an hour. So we're not going to have it reduced quite as much as we would like to have it, but it will finish reducing when we are done here today. And I think I will probably be canning a little bit of this so I can enjoy it later. Being outside all day until just shortly before you and I got together, I find that I get quite dehydrated. When I get home, I'm tired, and now this glass that I'm using, you can see it's big. It holds 4 cups of fluid, and I use that all the time. And when I get home from a market after being outside for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours, usually closer to 5 or 6, having a couple of those full definitely wakes me up, gives me more energy. And maybe it's because the flavor is so yummy, but I suspect it's because I don't have enough water when I'm out. I always have a hot cup of coffee with me, but if it's cold outside, and it was chilly outside this morning, I'm not going to be drinking anything cold. So catch up when I get home. Okay, do you want to see what this mushroom soup is looking like? Okay, whoops. Give you a quick flash there. Did you see that real quick? Okay, this is coming along and it is simmering away. I'm going to turn that down one more notch. You really do want to simmer this gently, and you want it to, do not put a lid on it. You want this to be boiling away. This steam coming up is showing you that it's reducing slowly but surely. And if you don't want pieces of mushroom that are as big as ours are, then if you put them through a food processor, they will be smaller going in. Getting my tongue caught in my eye teeth. Can't see what I'm saying. Okay, if you put them in this big, just use your immersion blender. Just throw it in the pot and it will have this all chopped up for you, just slick as you please. And I promise you, even if you don't like mushrooms, when we get together on Sunday to make the no tomato, you know what? We can make no oatmeal. We can make no pumpkin pie. We are going to make no tomato Swiss steak. So, Grandma Hawkins Swiss steak. And you absolutely will be amazed at how delicious it is if you choose to make it for your family. Okay, now you can see already that this is reducing. So it's got a ways to go. Now, anything worth doing is worth doing well, and anything worth having is worth working for. Both sage pieces of advice. Now let's have a quick taste and see. Oh my goodness. That never gets old. There may be a bowl of this in my future for supper. That is a very real possibility. Now, if you don't want to use chicken bone broth, you can use vegetable broth. Now, make sure that your broth is not full of sugar. If you're buying it in the grocery store, there is a very real possibility that it's going to be full of sugar and other oxamethylated whatever ingredients that we can't pronounce. So that means we shouldn't be eating them. I wish you could smell this. The thyme and the butter and the onion and the mushrooms and everything is all hanging out in that pot and getting to know each other, and it is a beautiful nostril symphony is what it is. Now, you have from now until Sunday morning, well, I guess you could do it on Sunday too, to make a big pot of mushroom soup if you want to hang out with me on Sunday and have Grandma's Swiss steak for supper. And it will be 100% keto friendly. So, I hope you were writing this down. If not, watch it again. The more times you watch it, the happier it makes me, because I know that you are learning something new every time. You want me to go over those ingredients one more time? Okay, let's do this. 500 grams of mushrooms, 60 grams of butter, 15 milliliters of oil, 3 cloves of minced garlic, 500 milliliters of chicken bone broth or chicken broth, 250 milliliters of water, and then all of our, and 1.5 cups of whipping cream. And then our dry ingredients that we mix together is a tablespoon of onion powder, because it saves us way bunch of carbs, and a tablespoon of thyme or 5.5 grams, 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum, 2 teaspoons of salt or 2.8 grams, a teaspoon of black pepper, and that is all. And those flavors alone are wonderful, but put them together in this mushroom soup with the whipping cream and the water and the mushrooms, and oh my goodness, this smells amazing. So I hope you will do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. Please be kind to others and be gentle and kind to yourself. So thank you very much for joining me. Sunday, 10 a.m. Mountain. You want to be here. This is an amazing recipe, and I know my grandma would be thrilled that I'm sharing it with all of you. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you